Hi, my name is Takian Peoples, and this is my book review on How It's Being Done. Urgent Lessons from Unexpected Schools by Karen Chenoweth. And I will briefly give a brief go over the book. Basically, I'm going to give you two of the schools that stood out to me the most in this book. And How It's Being Done basically um, is a follow-up on her first book on Is Being Done, and she's basically going across different schools across the United States, letting people see how it's being done, how they managed to take in these low-level, majority of them are poverty-stricken, urban areas, some of them schools, to being some of the best schools within their school district or in the United States for some matter, in such a brief amount of time. And one of the schools that stood out to me the most, or I should say state, was the state of Massachusetts. Massachusetts, in my opinion, did one of the biggest turnarounds I've ever seen by a state done, ever. And I think to me what made the biggest impact was when they decided to, when it came to educational funding, they placed more money in the urban area schools than any other um, than any non-urban area school. I believe that was a good idea because a lot of times I feel like the states really overlook the urban area schools and they want to place more money in the places where they feel like they can benefit from the most. But what they need to realize is the urban area schools are what who need the help the most. So Massachusetts, not only did they give more money to urban area schools, they also invested in um, the teachers, the future teachers. They made sure that the teachers knew and understood the curriculum, at least all the way up to the high school standards. So the teachers had to take an exam and they have to meet a certain score on the exam in order to receive their certification. One of the other things also that Massachusetts done was when it came to the teaching standards, they instead of doing it more so traditional teaching method, they really did a lot of project-based learning. They asked open-ended questions, critical thinking questions to the students to make sure that they're doing more of the critical thinking, independent learning on their own, so that way they'll actually understand the material more. And to me, I think that was a very good idea that they done in that state, because this state has become one of the top states in the United States when it comes to certain aspect of teaching. They managed to raise their scores. I want to pull it up. They managed to raise their scores in math, in grade 8 by math, um, overall in the state. In 2007, they were number one. In 2007, they also was number one in the U.S. by grade 4 by reading by the state. So this to me was a big turnaround in 7 years. How they managed to do this, and they did it all really by just teamwork, by placing in teachers who understood the subject well, project-based learning, technology. Technology also made a big influence on the students when it comes to their learning and understanding. Another one of the schools that stood out to me the most was the school Lockhart Junior High School in Lockhart, Texas. Now this school is pretty much like one of your is in the state of Texas, so it's pretty much the biggest thing I guess with them really was pretty much football. I don't think nobody really understood how to turn around the education, but it took an intern principal by by the name of Linda Bertram to turn around Lockhart Junior High School. And really, what it was a team effort. One of the things I think that stood out to me was that she integrated into the periods a rescue period, which was a time in which students who have issues in in math, social studies, science, could come during this time and get the help or the information that they need to help improve their test scores, or pretty much it looks like more like a tutoring service. And they use good, effective teachers to teach these troubled students who had issues. She was saying normally in the book how a lot of the good teachers would get the easier students, where the good teachers were giving the bad students, the students who had issues with learning, and turned them into better students. Also, what stood out to me was when it came to the exams, they had tests every week, and if the students score below 75% on the exam, they have to go to this rescue period. So I think that to aim that they aimed high expectations for these students, and they make sure that these students reach these high expectations um, every time. So the school's motto is 100% success, every child, every time. Um, and I think that is a really good thing to stand by, just to let kids know that they respect the students, they encourage the students that they can do good. Um, just to make them feel like that they're not losers, that they can achieve and succeed in this high goal um, that they want to that they want them to do. How they build their curriculum, um, they actually didn't teach the kids to test. Um, a teacher, Kate Harvey, said, "I'm not teaching the test. I'm teaching the objectives that the state of Texas will measure." So basically, they teach the objectives or the standards that the state of Texas issues to the students, instead of teaching them the exam. Because if you actually teach the curriculum and material to the students, then when it comes to the exam, they won't have a hard time. They won't have a hard time with it, or just in life, period. Because you really do not need to teach students exams. They really need to learn how to critically think and perform independent learning, and get tips on how to be good, successful test takers. Um, really by their teachers. Your goal really as a teacher is to help mentor and encourage your child, and just not spoon feed them like babies. Allow them to independently think on their own, and they'll become successful students. Um, when it came towards her conclusions, um, Ms. Chenoweth, she was saying how in her first book is called Is Being Done, how she had the will of personal relationship building, teaching collaboration, formative, data-driven instructions, formative assessment, a laser-like focus on what students need to learn. She went on to say how it's the best thing in the world to see. She was giving advice as to how a good teacher spends time and thought into figuring out their lesson plans for their students, asking other teachers for advice as to how to um, do other things, how to do other projects, trying to just come up with creative ways all the time to see uh, how to make their students learn things differently, just to get away from the traditional learning, just try to get kids excited more about school. And I think that this book, my overall approval of this book, I really enjoy this book. I will definitely keep this book in my arsenal as a future teacher. I think any teacher who is thinking about teaching, especially in the urban area school, needs to read this book just to grasp any ideas or tips as to how teachers, how certain teachers or how schools were able to make their kids successful. So there's my review. Thank you.